It being 10:30, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Greater Lafourche Port Commission of April 11, 2018 to order. Mr. Griffin, will you lead us in pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I thank you all for coming. I remind you to please turn your cell phone down and excuse my voice this morning. Roll call, Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, we have Seat A, Chucky Sherman here. Seat B, Perry Gisclair.
Here.
Seat C, Chris Gaudier, absent. Seat D, Rodney Gisclair.
Here.
Seat E, Curtis Pierce, absent. Seat F, Larry Griffin.
Here.
Seat G, John Melisson.
Here.
Seat H, Jimmy Guidry.
Here.
Seat I, Irvin Bruce.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sheremy, and just Mr. Chasson and two of our commissioners are on a meeting, and that's why they're not here today. Next is approval of the minutes of March 14, 2018 regular meeting.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Melisson. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is Executive Director's Report. Mr. Davy Brew.
All right, first off on the construction projects, Northern Expansion, Slip C, 939-foot west bulkhead, Angelet and PCO. Larry P.
Yes, the contract on this project is sea level. His completion date was scheduled for April 10th. With rain days, he went to April 22nd, and now with 3 days we allocated for the freeze where he couldn't have access to the port. He's now April 25th. He has double the amount of welders on, and they're working real diligently to get the bulkhead tied back so that a Magnolia dredging can come in and do their work.
Any questions?
Now we'll move to Northern Expansion, Slip C, 939 west sweep dredging. Larry P.
The contract on this project is Magnolia Dredging and Docks. We have a pre-construction meeting set for Monday morning at 11 a.m. and they're scheduled for right now, hopefully around the 26th or 27th of April, to come in and start stringing out pipe. They are going to have a 20-inch dredge, much bigger, double the size of what they have coming in.
Thank you for answering that question for us, for sure.
I knew that was going to come up.
All right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Larry.
Next project is the Northern Expansion, Slip C, 1,671-foot bulkhead, east bulkhead, PCO and Associates.
Crosby Dredging is the contract on this project. They're working on still driving concrete piles, driving steel sheet pile, and pouring concrete deadmen. They should be finished driving steel sheet piles early sometime next week. And by the end of the month, they'll be finished driving the concrete piles. They're moving ahead of schedule, and all is going well on the project so far.
Any questions for Joe? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next project, mitigation dredge of Slip D, J. Wayne Plaison. John.
Okay, the contractor on this project is also Crosby Dredging. They have completed filling the Rapalais Pond fill area, and they are going to be moving across the flotation canal to the North Flotation Canal site. They have had some minor problems with their equipment, but they should have that back on line this week.
Any questions? Thank you, John.
We'll move on to airport projects. Richard, maybe aircraft operations update?
Yes, sir. In the month of March, we had 2,542 operations, 10,940 passengers, and approximately 8,200 vehicles. I wanted to point out that I looked at all the data for 2018, every month, the 3 months of this year, and compared it to 2017. Every number is higher in 2018. I think that's a positive sign. I don't know if it's indicative of the industry, but at least it's good news for the airport. So, I guess next, Heather Klingman's going to come up and talk to you about the taxiway lighting project.
All right, so taxiway lighting project's moving along. It's getting pretty close to being completed. Just to kind of go through the three main parts of the project. The runway lights, if you remember, basically what they're doing is they're taking the existing runway lights, they're pulling out all the guts and the fixtures and replacing it with LED. So all that's done. Runway lights are done, they're burning, everything's functioning there. The second part of it was the signs. They had a couple of the existing signs that they were changing out the whole fixture, again, to put in new, more efficient signs. All of those change-outs are done. They're not burning yet because they actually have two more sign foundations that are left to pour that we're kind of looking at some, minor issues that we're trying to, possibly adjust the elevations on them. But they've got those two left to pour, the sign to put up, and then they can go ahead and get that finished up. Then the taxiway lights, the new lights along the taxiway, they've got about 25 of the cans left to pour the foundations and about 10 left to actually install the cans and the foundation. So that's really where the bulk of the work is left, is on the taxiway lights. From a construction time frame standpoint, their completion date per the original substantial completion is April 6th. We're looking probably about 30 days of weather days over the course of the project. So actually next month we'll come to the board with a change order, requesting those days. But we're anticipating if, as long as everything goes as planned by the next board meeting, they should be done with everything. So that's it. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And under other projects, the Section 203 feasibility study, actually GIS Engineering and Joni, are at a meeting in New Orleans with the Corps and some other federal agencies. She's going to actually send that information from that meeting to Chet and the two commissioners that are in Washington, because they're meeting tomorrow with people from the Corps of Engineers. So that's what's happening on that project. It seems to be moving along. Next project, y'all have any questions on the 203? And the next project would be Highway 308 Airport Access Improvement Project, PCL and Associates.
Yes, we submitted all the project documentation to EDA for approval. We did speak to them yesterday, and they had a few questions about a few things, and we cleared all that up and provided them some more information. So hopefully approval ought to be coming soon. Once we get their approval, then we'll go out for bid.
Any question? Thank you, Joe.
All right, next would be the Fouchon Bridge removal, which is a parish project that Joe's overseeing.
Tidewater Docks is the contractor. He's got all the bridge structure and all the piles out of the navigational channel except for the center concrete turntable. He has the road barriers in on both sides, and they do plan on trying to remove the concrete turntable on Monday coming. That'll be a couple-day operation.
Any question? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next would be Louisiana 1 Phase 2 Leeville Mitigation Dredging Project, Angelette and PCO.
Yes, the contractor on this job is Magnolia Dredging and Docks. We were out there this morning to meet with DNR and ConocoPhillips to check the progress on the repair of the damage where the dredge has to pump in. We got straight on that. They're going to have to do a little bit more corrections, but DNR, I think, will be happy, and so will ConocoPhillips. And then we're waiting on them to give us a plan to do some planting that's going to be required by DNR and ConocoPhillips. The project was supposed to be complete on March 31st, but they did not finish till April 5th. But we gave them 6 or 7 days because of the freeze weather and the low tides. They had trouble getting any equipment because of the low tides and damage to their equipment. So next meeting we should have a substantial completion.
Change order.
Any question? Thank you, Mr. Lara.
Mr. President, that concludes my report, but I think on the public comment, Ms. April might have something.
Public comment?
Good morning. Chad asked me to give y'all an update on the LA1 Expressway projects going on. So there's no tower going up. There's some large cement blocks that y'all have seen going up. And that's to put that's the foundation for a camera pole that's going to go there. And the pole's like 100 feet tall, so they needed that base station. There's one DMS sign that has been replaced, and there's one more that will be replaced. There will be 3 new cameras installed on the LA1 bridge. The pole manufacturer actually went out of business unexpectedly, so that delayed the project. However, the new pole manufacturer has been located. DOTD is in the process of procuring those poles. It'll take about 3 to 4 months before those poles come in. The bridge striping project, which led in January, began last week and is currently underway. The structural repairs project for the bridge lets tomorrow, April 11th, which is today, sorry. And the emergency generator project for the Go Pass Customer Service Center is expected to let in August of this year. And then this morning, I got the traffic count numbers off the expressway. They're at 94,788 for March. If we look at 2016, they were at 94,000. In 2017, and went down to 87, so we're back up at 94. And if we look from January to now, we had 74 in January, 76,000 in February, and then now 94. So it looks like things are going up. Any questions?
Please?
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? We move on to committee reports. The first is the executive committee. Members are Perry Just Claire, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Chucky Shermy, and John Millison Jr. One is consider approving the request from Secor Marine for a short-term mooring agreement in Flotation Canal. Moved by Mr. Just Claire, second by Mr. Shermy. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from MI to extend the mooring dolphin agreement in Flotation Canal.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from Marina Offshore for a tower lease.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Shermy, second by Mr. Just Claire. Are you going to say anything about it? No? Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Please.
Since it's a new lease.
So this is a new tower lease for Arena Offshore. So we're asking you to consider approving 2 dishes, 2 microwave dishes that are 6 feet round at the 330 to 340 foot levels on the southwest leg. Would be a primary terms of 5 years with 4 additional 5-year periods, $3,750 per month with 5% escalations, and $250 per month for electrical. We're currently negotiating the lease, so we're ready to receive approval, if you approve.
April, how many more spots we have on that tower?
A lot.
We have a lot?
We have a lot of spots on the tower itself. The problem we're going to run into here in the next couple of years is going to be the space in the communication buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Thank you. Next is, I'm sorry.
We need a vote.
Any other public comment? All in favor signify by, yes, sir.
Just for clarification, I don't know, but they said Secor, and I saw a jackup. I thought that Secor had did a merger with Montco. And I thought that Montco is the operator and is under Falcon Global. So I don't know if you need to check that out or not. It might be a good.
No, sir, in our committee meeting on Monday,
It's because of the registry, or where it's registered, we had to change it.
change it.
Okay,
But
just asking.
they brought that to our attention.
To answer your question, that Secor Marine does own Falcon, and Falcon is who purchased Montco. Montco had that spot located, so they're trying to extend that lease on there. So the correct owner has been identified. Thank you.
Mr. President, I don't know if we voted on this
Not
last
yet.
issue. I don't remember.
No. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request from Stone Energy Corporation to assign the tower lease.
And this is an existing lease that Stone Energy is going through changes, so they want to assign it to a different party.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Sherman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bruce. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. No jumping around.
Ah, no, we messing you up, Mr. President.
Consider approving the request from Express Well to sublease site GLF 612 to PSC.
Right, you want to answer that one?
Sure, that's how we talked about on Monday night. This was initially partially subleased to PSC, partially subleased to Grand Isle Shipyard. Grand Isle Shipyard is no longer interested in subleasing, I guess, the non-waterfront, so it's all going to be subleased to PSC. And the recommendation was to approve.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next is consider approving the request to assign the hay lease to Butterfat Cattle Company at the South Lafourche Industrial Park.
And this is Byron Sheremy who had a lease and extending that lease but forming an LLC known as Buttermilk Fat Cattle Company.
Moved by Mr. Griffin, second by Mr. Bruce. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next, we move into Permits and Waterways Committee. Excuse me. Members are Chucky Sheremy, Chairman, Larry Griffin, Perry Gisclair, and Curtis Pierce. Mr. Sheremy.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, we have Chevron Environmental Management Company proposed for a cooperative agreement for temporary storage in place, out of service, 6-inch pipeline of approximately 21,991 feet in length. Next, we have Shell Pipeline Company. Proposed installation of 440 foot of concrete mats over the Morris 24-inch pipeline. During installation, each of mats will be jetted to the 1.5 feet below surface. And that's all we have for permits, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Sheremy. Next, we move into Finance Committee. Members are John Melanson, Jr., Chairman, Jimmy Guidry, Chris Gaudet, and Perry Gisclair. Mr. Melanson.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President. We'll begin the report by considering approving the payments of the March 2018 invoices and recognizing those over $10,000. And we'll begin by item 1, Crosby Dredging, LLC, $2,545,578.20. And that is for Slip C, Phase 3 bulkhead, and also mitigation dredging of Slip D. Item 2, Sea Level Construction Incorporated, $527,441.73, and that is for the Slip C 939 linear feet of west bulkhead. Item 3, Magnolia Dredge and Lock, LLC, $219,648.36, and that is for the LA1 Phase 2 Mitigation Dredge Project. Item 4, Sun Industries, $169,124.28, and that is for the Airport Lighting Project. Item 5, GIS Engineering, $151,964.93, and that is for the Integrated Feasibility Study. Item 6, PCO and Associates, $117,480.26, and that is for Slip C Phase 3 bulkhead, the boathouse permit at the Nerby Collins Marina, and culvert replacement at the airport. Item 7, Barataria Terrebonne Estuary Foundation, $46,000, and that is for the mitigation planning project. Item 8, Angelette Piciola, $34,446.69, and that's for the Minus Sheremy Road paving, the LA1 Phase 2 mitigation project, and the Slip C Northern 939 linear feet of bulkhead. Item 9, Bouvier Insurance, $26,800.18, and that is for our property insurance. Item 10, Quality Site Work Materials, $24,963.70, and that is for port drainage improvements. Item 11, Vision Communications, $20,940.09, and that is for phone, internet, and cable services. Item 12, Bank of America, $17,407.10, and that is for port credit card monthly charges. Item 13, Pictometry, $16,020.66, and that is for a quarter share of costs for the area imaging with parish government, communications district, and the assessor's office. And last, we have Grand Isle Shipyard, $12,137.21, and that is for the contract labor at the FBO, bringing us to a total, along with our other expenses, of $4,541,764.98. And Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we accept these expenditures.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
You did a good job, Mr. Melanson.
That was a long one today,
That was
Mr.
a
Griffin.
long one.
Thank you very much. Next, we have consider approving the 2017 unaudited financial statements as we discussed on Monday night's committee meeting. And Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we approve these.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Griffin. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And next, we have consider approving the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire, which is required by the legislative auditor. And I'd like to make a motion, we accept this.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And last, we have consider approving the out-of-state and travel, training and travel request. On our first request, we have Director Chasson and External Relation Manager Joni Tuck attending in meetings in Washington for the Section 203 feasibility study. And then they will travel from there to New York along with Mr. Otan, General Counsel, and Ms. Parker, Director of Finance, and attend finance meetings in New York. And this will go through May 15th through the 18th. Next, we have Joe Colston III, IT Specialist, going to attend B-Sides and DEF CON Cybersecurity Training Conference in Nevada, August 6th through the 13th. And last, we have Director of IT, April Danos, attending the Transportation Security and Safety Expo as an attendee and a speaker in Washington, D.C., June 9th through the 12th. And I'd like to make a motion, we accept these out-of-state and travel training requests.
Moved by Mr. Melanson, second by Mr. Guidry. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
And Mr. President, this concludes the financial report.
Any other business? Any public comment?
Mr. President, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, but I'd like to tell Mr. Breaux, you did so much of a good job or professional job today, we might take you to replace Chet.
Moved by Mr. Sheremy, second by Mr. Gisclair. Any discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank each and every one.